The tall glass towers of the Galactic Council building reached up toward the artificial stars above Station Nexus. Ambassador Jinho Park walked slowly down the long hallway, his black diplomatic clothes neat and clean. He had done this walk many times before. Too many times. His assistant, Min-Ah Kim, walked beside him. She carried a thick folder full of papers and photographs. Evidence. Proof of what had happened to human colonies in the past month. Jinho knew what would happen when he showed these papers to Council. The same thing that always happened. Nothing. Are you ready, sir? Min-Ah asked quietly as they stopped outside the great chamber doors. Jinho nodded. As ready as I can be for another day of being ignored. The doors opened with a soft hiss. Inside, the chamber was huge. Representatives from 47 different alien species sat in curved rows that went up and up like a giant bowl. At the center was a speaking platform where Jinho would have to stand and ask for help that would never come. Jinho walked the platform. His footsteps echoed in the quiet chamber. Many of the alien representatives were not even looking at him. Some were talking to each other. Others were checking their communication devices. A few were sleeping. Honored delegates. Jinho began, his voice carrying across the large room. I come before you today to report new attacks on human settlements. The Zephyrian forces have destroyed 3 more of our colonies, New Seoul, New Busan, and the mining station at Kepler 442b. Over 1,000 civilians are dead. A sound like clicking and buzzing came from one section of the chamber. It was laughter. The Keth representatives were laughing. Jinho felt his hands tighten into fists, but he kept his face calm. A huge reptile-like creature stood up from the Zephyrian section. This was Vextar, their chief representative. His scales were dark green and his eyes were yellow like a snake's. When he spoke, his voice was deep and rough. Ambassador Park, Vextar said, and Jinho could hear the mocking tone even through the translation system. Perhaps if humans chose better places to build their colonies, these accidents would not happen. You keep building in areas where we need to expand. More laughter came from different parts of the chamber. Jinho felt heat rise in his chest, but he pushed it down. He had to stay calm. He had to keep trying to find peace. We have offered to share the mining rights, Jinho replied. We have suggested protected shipping lanes that both our species could use. We have even offered to help relocate our colonies if you would work with us to find suitable planets. Every offer has been rejected or ignored. A creature that looked like it was made of crystal stood up. This was the Eternal Voice, the being who ran the council meetings. Its voice sounded like music, but Jinho had learned that beautiful sounds could carry ugly meanings. The matter will be sent to a subcommittee for review, the Eternal Voice announced. We will study this issue carefully over the coming months. Next item on today's schedule. Jinho felt something cold settle in his stomach. Months. They would study for months while more humans died. He looked around the chamber at all the alien faces. Some looked bored. Others looked annoyed that he was taking up their time. A few looked amused, as if human suffering was entertaining. Wait, Jinho said, his voice a little louder than before. What about the children who died on New Seoul? What about the families who have lost everything? What about justice for the innocent people who were murdered? Vextar made a sound that might have been a chuckle. Justice is a luxury for a species strong enough to take it, Ambassador Park. Perhaps humans should learn to defend themselves instead of always running to others for help. The chamber erupted in sounds that Jinho had learned to recognize as alien laughter. Clicks, buzzes, roars, whistles, and other noises that all meant the same thing. They thought humans were weak. They thought humans were cowards who could only talk and never fight. Jinho stood there on the platform, surrounded by the laughter beings who found human death amusing. He thought about the pictures in Min-Ah's folder. Pictures of destroyed homes. Pictures of burned schools. Pictures of playgrounds where human children would never play again. The session is adjourned, the Eternal Voice announced. As the representatives began to leave, talking and laughing among themselves, Jinho remained on the platform. Min-Ah came down to join him. Sir, she asked quietly. Jinho was staring at his hands. These hands had signed peace treaties. They had shaken hands with alien diplomats. They had written thousands of requests for help and cooperation. They had never held a weapon. "Sir, we should go," Minna said. "You have that dinner with the Andromedan ambassador tonight." Jinho finally looked up. Around him, the great chamber was almost empty. Only a few cleaning robots remained, quietly clearing away the trash left by the representatives. 200 years, he said quietly. "Sir, 200 years we have been members of this council. 200 years of choosing words over weapons. 200 years of believing that peace was possible if we just tried hard enough." Minna did not know what to say. That night, in his private quarters, Jinho stood before a wall screen showing the names of human casualties from the past year. 12,000 names glowed softly in the darkness. 12,000 people who had trusted their government to protect them with diplomacy instead of force. His secure communication device chimed. A message had arrived from Earth. The sender was listed as Director Kong. Jinho read the message twice. Then he read it again. "Continue diplomatic efforts as long as possible, but prepare contingency plans. Even patience has limits." Jinho deleted the message and looked back at the wall of names. Tomorrow, he would return to the council chamber. He would make another speech. He would ask for help that would not come. He would listen to more laughter. But maybe not for much longer. Maybe it was time for the galaxy to learn that human patience was not the same thing as human weakness. Maybe it was time for them to discover what humanity had been choosing not to do all these years. The emergency alarm woke Jinho at 3 a.m. He rolled out of bed and grabbed his communication device. The screen showed an urgent message from Minna. "Emergency. Come to the secure room now. You need to see this." Jinho dressed quickly and ran through the empty corridors of the human embassy. His bare feet slapped against the cold metal floors. When he reached the secure communication room, he found Minna sitting in front of a large holographic display. She was crying. "What happened?" Jinho asked. Minna pointed at the display without looking at him. "The research ship New Dawn. It's gone." The hologram showed a peaceful-looking ship floating in space. It was white with blue and green stripes that showed the colors of Earth. The ship looked like a flying library, with large windows and gardens visible through the transparent sections. "Gone? What do you mean gone?" Jinho asked. "Destroyed. Everyone dead." Minna's voice was shaking. 300 people, Jinho. Scientists, researchers, their families. There were 47 children on that ship. Jinho felt his legs go weak. He sat down heavily in the chair next to Minna. "Show me what happened." The hologram changed to show the attack. The New Dawn was moving slowly through empty space when other ships appeared. Jinho recognized them immediately. Black angular ships that belonged to the Zephyrians. Strange organic-looking vessels that belonged to the Keth pirates. The New Dawn was on a research mission, Minna explained through her tears. They were studying plant life on empty planets. No weapons, no military value, just scientists trying to learn about flowers and trees. The attack began on the display. The first thing the New Dawn did was broadcast a message on all frequencies. "This is Research Vessel New Dawn. We are a non-military ship carrying only scientists and their families. We surrender completely. Please allow us safe passage or board us for inspection. We offer no resistance." The response came in the form of energy weapons. Bright red beams lanced out from the attacking ships and struck the New Dawn. The research ship had no shields, no armor, no way to defend itself. It began to break apart immediately. "Did anyone escape?" Jinho asked quietly. "No." Minna shook her head. The attack lasted 4 minutes. They made sure to destroy every escape pod, every lifeboat. They wanted everyone dead. Jinho watched the recording in silence. This was not a military battle. This was not even piracy, where criminals might take hostages or steal cargo. This was murder. Pure and simple murder of innocent people whose only crime was being human. "Call an emergency session to council," Jinho said finally. "Full formal protocols. I want every representative there." "Sir, it's the middle of the night. Many species will refuse to—" "They will come," Jinho interrupted. His voice carried a tone that Minna had never heard before. Tell them that if they do not attend, humanity will remember who our friends are and who they are not. 6 hours later, Jinho stood once again in the great chamber of the Galactic Council. This time he was not alone. Admiral So-Min Lee had arrived on the fastest ship from Earth. She wore her military dress uniform, dark blue with silver decorations that showed her many years of service. Most of the alien representatives had never seen a human military officer before. The chamber was fuller than usual. Jinho's message had worked. Every species had sent someone. Though many looked annoyed at being woken up, honored delegates. Jinho began. His voice was different now. Harder. Yesterday, the research vessel New Dawn was destroyed by a combined Zephyrian and Ket attack force. 300 innocent civilians were murdered after they surrendered. He activated the holographic display in the center of the chamber. The recording of the attack began to play. Some representatives leaned forward to watch. Others looked away when the energy beams began to fire. As you can see, this was not a military engagement. The New Dawn had no weapons and offered no resistance. The victims included 47 children between the ages of 5 and 15. When the recording ended, the chamber was quiet for a moment. Then Vextar stood up from his seat. He looked the same as always, arrogant, unconcerned, amused. A regrettable accident, Vextar said in his deep voice. Pirates often steal ships and use false identification codes. How can the Zephyrian government be responsible for criminals who happen to use our ship designs? From the Keth section, a creature that looked like a giant insect made the clicking sound that meant laughter. Perhaps humans should stay in safe areas if they cannot protect themselves. The galaxy is a dangerous place for the weak. Jinho felt something snap inside his chest. Around the chamber, representatives from dozens of species were nodding in agreement or making sounds of amusement. They were laughing about the murder of children. Admiral So-Min Lee stepped forward. She had not spoken until now, but her presence seemed to fill the chamber. Her hand rested on the ceremonial sword at her side. Most aliens thought it was just decoration. They had never seen what humans could do with blades. There will be no committee, she said quietly. Her voice carried clearly through the chamber despite its soft tone. There will be no months of investigation. There will be no excuses. Vextar hissed something that might have been laughter. And what will the peaceful humans do? File another complaint? Make another speech? Admiral Lee smiled. It was not a pleasant smile. Several representatives shifted uncomfortably in their seats as they realized that humans had very sharp teeth. You'll find out, she said. The eternal voice tried to speak, its musical tones filling the chamber. Perhaps we should discuss this calmly. Violence solves nothing. We must find a peaceful solution. Peace! Jinho interrupted. His voice echoed off the chamber walls. We offered peace for 200 years. We offered cooperation. We offered friendship. We offered compromise. What did we get in return? He gestured at the holographic display, which now showed images of the dead children from a new dawn. We got murdered children. Jinho continued. We got laughter at our pain. We got aliens who think human suffering is entertaining. He looked around the chamber at all the alien faces. You want to know what humans will do? You want to know our response to the murder of innocents? The chamber fell completely silent. You'll find out very soon, Jinho promised. And when you do, remember that we gave you every chance to choose peace. Remember that we tried diplomacy first. Remember that you could have stopped this with justice and chose cruelty instead. That evening, Jinho's secure communicator chimed with a message from Earth. The sender was now listed as Supreme Command. The message was short, all diplomatic options exhausted. Military response authorized. Execute Protocol 7. Jinho read the message twice, then deleted it. He began typing orders for the immediate recall of every human civilian in alien space. The galaxy was about to learn the difference between choosing not to fight and being unable to fight. And Jinho suspected they would not enjoy the lesson. 3 kilometers beneath the mountains of Switzerland, Director Tawan Kong stood in a room that most of the galaxy did not know existed. The command center was enormous, filled with hundreds of people working at glowing screens and holographic displays. Above them all, a massive three-dimensional map showed every star system in known space. Status report, Kong said quietly. His voice was calm, but everyone in the room could feel the tension. Colonel Hygiene Lim looked up from her workstation. All human diplomats have been safely evacuated. The last transport ship left Zephyrian space 20 minutes ago. What about civilians? Every human family in non-allied territory is now safely aboard evacuation ships or back in human space, she reported. Total evacuation time, 36 hours. Kong nodded and turned to another workstation where Admiral Dongwu Park was coordinating with military commanders across the galaxy. Admiral, are our assets in position? All units ready, sir, Admiral Park replied. He touched his holographic controls, and the star map above them began to change. What it looked like peaceful human colonies and research stations across the galaxy suddenly showed their true nature. A space station that aliens thought was used for studying plants extended massive weapon arrays. A hospital ship that had been giving free medical care for 50 years revealed armor plating that could survive a nuclear explosion. Mining platforms that aliens believed were harmless suddenly showed hidden fighter bays filled with advanced combat ships. My God, whispered Captain Yuri Song from the Intelligence Division. They never suspected, did they? Why would they? Kong replied, For 200 years, we have been exactly what we appear to be. Peaceful, helpful, harmless. Captain Song pulled up intercepts from alien communication networks. Director, you need to hear this. The Zephyrians are planning to attack our defenseless mining colonies while our ships are in retreat. The Keth pirates are organizing raids on what they think are unprotected human supply lines. And the Vorthans? They're discussing the complete takeover of human space. Their military command believes we've abandoned our territories and left them undefended. Admiral Park laughed, but it was not a happy sound. They still think we're running away. Let them think it, Kong said. In 48 hours, they'll understand their mistake. On the great display above them, thousands of blue dots representing human forces were moving into attack positions. But to alien observers, it would look like a panicked retreat. Human ships appear to be fleeing in random directions, abandoning their colonies and stations. The aliens could not see the true pattern. They did not know that every fleeing human ship was actually a warship moving to surround enemy positions. They did not understand that every abandoned human facility was actually a weapons platform waiting to activate. Sir, called out Lieutenant Baram Lee from a communications division. We're receiving messages from alien governments. They want to know why we're evacuating our civilians and mobilizing our fleets. Standard response, Kong ordered. Tell them we are conducting routine military exercises. What if they don't believe us? It doesn't matter what they believe, Kong replied. Soon they'll know the truth. Captain Song approached with a thick file of intelligence reports. Director, our deep cover agents are reporting in. Every major alien military base, pirate stronghold, and secret facility has been thoroughly mapped. We know exactly where their weapons are stored, where their commanders sleep, and how many guard they have at each location. Kong smiled grimly. 200 years of preparation. We placed observers everywhere, learned every weakness, studied every tactic. We hoped we would never need this information. But now we do. Now we do, Kong agreed. He turned to address the entire command center. Ladies and gentlemen, in 48 hours we will demonstrate to the galaxy what human restraint has been protecting them from. This is not revenge. This is justice. This is not conquest. This is defense. Remember that. The room fell silent, except for the soft sounds of people working at their stations. Is the message ready? Kong asked. Yes, sir. Prepare for simultaneous broadcast on all frequencies throughout the galaxy. Send it. At that moment, on every inhabited world, every space station, every ship in known space, the same message appeared. It came through communication systems, entertainment networks, emergency channels, and even personal devices. No government could block it or trace its source. The message was simple and appeared in every known language. To all sentient beings, in 48 hours, humanity will respond to recent attacks on our people. All civilians should remain in their homes. All military personnel should stand down. All governments should prepare for consequences. This is not a threat. This is fact. Humanity's patience has ended. The message played once on every device in the galaxy, then vanished completely. Within minutes, the command center began receiving reports from human intelligence agents throughout alien space. Panic was spreading through alien governments. Military leaders were calling emergency meetings. Some species were moving their fleets to attack human positions. Others were trying to contact human diplomats who were no longer answering their calls. "They're scared," observed Admiral Park as he watched alien fleet movements on a display. "Good," Kong replied. "Fear might save lives. If they surrender quickly, fewer people will die. And if they don't surrender?" Kong looked up at the massive display, showing human forces positioned around every enemy's stronghold in the galaxy. Ships that could move faster than light itself. Weapons that could disable entire planets without harming civilians. Technology that was centuries ahead of anything the aliens possessed. "Then they'll learn why we chose peace," he said quietly. "They'll learn what our restraint has been protecting them from. They'll learn that human kindness was never human weakness." He paused, watching as the final preparations were completed. In 48 hours, the galaxy changes forever. At exactly 6 in the morning, Galactic Standard Time, humanity struck 17 star systems at once. Commander Un-Soo Kim stood on the bridge of what the aliens had believed was a simple farming station. The peaceful harvest had orbited the Zephyrian homeworld for 30 years, growing food and conducting agricultural research. The Zephyrians had grown so used to seeing it that they barely noticed it anymore. Now, the station was transforming. Metal panels slid away to reveal weapons that had been hidden for decades. What had looked like greenhouse domes were actually advanced targeting systems. The gentle farming station became a fortress bristling with technology the Zephyrians had never seen before. "All targets locked," reported Lieutenant Baram Lee from her position at the weapons console. "No civilian areas in our targeting zone." Commander Kim studied the holographic display, showing every Zephyrian military base on the planet below. Each installation glowed red, marked for destruction, but the civilian cities, schools, and hospitals remained unmarked. Green zones that would not be touched. "Fire," Kim ordered quietly. Beams of blue energy shot down from the station toward the planet. But these were not the crude weapons that most species used. These beams passed harmlessly through civilian buildings, through schools full of children, through hospitals full of patients. They only affected military targets. Zephyrian warships found their engines dead instantly. Their weapon systems shut down. Their communications went silent. In 12 minutes, the most feared military in the galaxy was completely helpless, and not one civilian had been harmed. Across the galaxy, the same scene was happening in 16 other star systems. Captain Seng-Wook-Yoon commanded what the Keth pirates had thought was a medical research station studying space diseases. The Healing Light had been providing free medical care to anyone who needed it for 40 years. Keth pirates had sometimes brought their wounded there, knowing the humans would treat them without asking questions. Now the medical station revealed its true nature. The hospital sections folded back to show fighter bays. Thousands of small combat ships poured out, each one piloted by an artificial intelligence more advanced than most alien computers. Phase 2 beginning, Yoon announced calmly as he watched his fighters sweep to the Keth strongholds. The pirates tried to fight back, but their weapons were useless. Human fighters moved too fast, dodged too well, struck too precisely. Within an hour, every pirate base in Keth space was either destroyed or captured. The pirates themselves were transported to holding facilities where they would be processed according to galactic law. But the most shocking transformation happened in Vorthan space. Admiral Jae-min Cho had been commanding what appeared to be a hospital ship for 60 years. The Mercy's Hand was famous throughout Vorthan territory for its humanitarian work. It had saved millions of lives, treated plague victims, and provided disaster relief. The Vorthan Imperial fleet had always protected the hospital ship, considering it a valuable neutral vessel that served everyone. Now they watched in horror as the Mercy's hand deployed armor plating that could withstand a star's explosion and weapons that seemed to bend space itself. This is Admiral Cho of the Terran Defense Force. He broadcasts on all Vorthan frequencies. Surrender immediately, and your people will be treated with respect. Continue fighting, and we will demonstrate capabilities we prefer to keep secret. The Vorthan response was swift and predictable. They fired their most powerful weapon, a planet-killing device that had never failed to destroy any target. The massive energy beam struck the Mercy's hand directly. The human ship absorbed the energy, converted it to power, and fired it back with twice the force. But instead of destroying the Vorthan flagship, the return beam somehow transported the entire ship and its crew to a holding facility in human space, where they would be kept safe as prisoners of war. Back on Station Nexus, Ambassador Jinho watched the galactic communication networks explode with panic. Alien governments that had spent centuries dismissing humanity were now flooding his office with desperate calls. Sir, Minar reported from her communication console. The Keth Confederation is offering complete surrender. The Zephyrian High Command is requesting immediate ceasefire talks. 12 smaller species have formally apologized and are asking for protection. Jinho studied the reports coming in from across the galaxy. Every enemy military installation had been neutralized. Every pirate base was silent. Every secret prison had been emptied, its guards captured and its victims freed. Most amazingly, civilian casualties were almost zero. Humanity had fought the most devastating military campaign in galactic history without harming innocent people. Open a channel to Galactic Council, Jinho ordered. Minutes later, he stood once again in the great chamber where he had begged for justice just days before. But now everything was different. Representatives who had laughed at human weakness sat in shocked silence. Many were receiving constant updates about their military forces being systematically defeated. Honored delegates. Jinho began, and his voice carried a new authority that made everyone listen. As of 1 hour ago, every species that attacked human civilians has been militarily defeated. Your fleets are captured. Your weapons are offline. Your military power is gone. The eternal voice tried to speak, but Jinho raised his hand and continued. I am not here to negotiate. I am here to tell you what happens next. For 200 years, humanity chose peace. We chose talking over fighting. We chose to trust other species and believe that problems could be solved with words. He looked directly at the Zephyrian representative, who was frantically trying to contact his homeworld's military commanders. You thought our choice was weakness. You thought we preferred peace because we could not fight. Today you learned the truth. The chamber remained completely silent except for the soft sound of aliens trying to reach their military forces that no longer existed. The war is over, Jinho announced. You lost. Now we decide what comes next. For the first time in galactic history, every species in the chamber was listening to humanity with complete attention and absolute respect. 3 months after the war that lasted only 1 day, Ambassador Jinho Park stood in the Galactic Council chambers once more. But everything had changed. The tall crystal towers outside now had small human defense platforms floating quietly nearby. Security guards in blue and white Terran Protection Service uniforms stood at every entrance. Most importantly, the atmosphere of casual disrespect that had once filled these meetings was gone forever. The Terran protection protocols are now active throughout all galactic space. Jinho announced to the assembled delegates. His voice was different now. Gone was the pleading tone of his old speeches. In its place was the quiet confidence of someone whose people had just proven themselves the strongest force in known space. Director Min-Young Han stood beside him in the crisp uniform of the new Galactic Peace Administration. She had replaced Jinho as Earth's main representative when he chose to become the new Galactic Security Coordinator. Any species, government, or group that targets innocent civilians will face immediate response from Terran forces. Min-Young stated clearly, this is not up for debate. This is not subject to committee review. This is the new reality of galactic life. The response was immediate and unanimous. Every delegate present formally agreed to the protocols. The Zephyrian representative, a much smaller and more nervous creature than the arrogant Vextar who had come before, actually stood up to thank humanity for their merciful restraint during the recent conflict. The Keth delegation now consisted of reformed pirates who had completely rebuilt their society. They presented formal apologies and offered to pay for the damages they had caused over the centuries. Most remarkably, the Vorthan Empire had voluntarily broken itself apart. Its former territories had requested to become protectorates under human oversight, preferring human guidance to their old military dictatorship. "We want to be clear about something," Director Han continued, looking around the chamber at faces that now showed respect instead of mockery. "Humanity does not want to rule the galaxy. We do not want your planets, your resources, or your submission. We want peace. We want safety for all civilian populations. We want a galaxy where species can explore, trade, and grow without fear of unprovoked attack." She gestured to a holographic display that showed the current state of galactic affairs. Crime statistics, trade routes, and safety reports filled the air above the delegates' heads. Since the implementation of the protocols, crime rates have dropped by 94%. Piracy has been virtually eliminated. Border conflicts have stopped completely. Trade routes are safer than they have been in centuries. Captain Sang-Wook-Yun stepped forward, representing the Terra Naval Command. His uniform bore the symbols of the new Galactic Protection Fleet. "Our forces remain ready to respond to any threats against innocent life. We have monitoring stations throughout the galaxy, not to spy on legitimate governments, but to make sure that what happened to the research vessel New Dawn never happens again." An old Andromedan delegate raised one of her forearms. "What if there are disagreements between species? Border disputes? Trade conflicts? Those will be handled by the new Galactic Mediation Service." Jin-Ho replied, "Neutral human mediators will help resolve conflicts before they become violent. Both sides will present their cases, and fair solutions will be found. And if someone refuses mediation, ask a representative from the Tau Ceti system." Captain Yun smiled calmly. "Then they'll discover why mediation is the better option." The meaning was clear to everyone in the chamber. Humanity had proven they could end any conflict in a matter of hours. It was much better to talk through problems than to face the consequences of violence. The eternal voice spoke in its musical tones, now carrying genuine respect rather than bored condescension. The Council formally recognizes the Terran Protection Protocols and pledges full cooperation with the Galactic Peace Administration. After the session, Jin-Ho walked through the station's civilian areas with Director Han. The changes were visible everywhere. Children from dozens of different species played together in the common areas. Their parents watched without the constant worry that had once defined galactic life. Zephyrian youngsters learned human games from their new friends. Former Keth pirates worked alongside other species in legitimate businesses. Vorthan citizens explored art and literature instead of military conquest. "Do you think we'll last?" Min Young asked quietly as they watched a group of alien children singing a human lullaby they had learned in school. Jin-Ho observed a Keth parent carefully teaching their child about nonviolence. The same species that had once believed strength only came through aggression. "The peace? Yes, I believe it will," he replied. "Fear can motivate people for a while, but understanding lasts much longer." Understanding? They finally understand what our restraint was protecting them from. Jin-Ho explained. For 2 centuries, they thought our peaceful nature was weakness. Now, they know it was mercy. They know we could have conquered the galaxy at any time, but chose not to. They know we still choose not to, even after proving we easily could. He pointed to a news display showing children across 17 worlds celebrating the first annual Unity Day, a celebration of the peace that followed humanity's brief demonstration of their true capabilities. A young reporter was concluding her broadcast with words that have become common throughout the galaxy. Never mistake human kindness for human weakness. They are patient teachers, but they are also the galaxy's most dangerous students. Today we are all grateful they choose to use their lessons to protect rather than conquer. Min Young smiled. And if someone forgets that lesson, then they'll be reminded. Jin-Ho replied simply, gently if possible, firmly if necessary. But the galaxy will remember the day humanity's patience ended. They'll remember that our patience was a gift, not a weakness. A group of children ran past them, laughing and playing together. Human children, Zephyrian children, Keth children, and others. All friends now in a galaxy where friendship was protected by the quiet strength of a species that preferred peace but was prepared for war. The galaxy had learned its lesson, and hopefully it would never need to learn it again